Peace, world. Happy Friday. I had to jump in here before I go try to check. I'm gonna try to catch Dune 2 today. Before I could get to do that, I see why I see why Stephen A. Smith called Jason Whitlock broke code. Got off message, got off his square, compromised his whole presentation and squared things away with his pastor and his mother or his sister and the president, the execs over at ESPN to try to stomp a mud hole in Jason Whitlock's ass and called him a fat bastard and the nastiest, foulest, most vulgar piece of shit doing it. And I throw this full disclosure, I listen to Jason Whitlock's Fearless podcast more than any other sports podcast. Never listened to Up in Smoke or All the Smoke. Never listened to Gilbert Arenas. Never listened to Cam Newton. Never listened to Stephen A. Smith's podcast. Haven't listened to too many Bomani Jones podcasts. I try to check out Brother from Another, but I don't even know what's going on with them lately. It's been a while. But I see exactly why he called this dude a piece of shit. Today's story, major headline, is that, well, in the last episode that I saw, that I ran across of Fearless with Jason Whitlock, is all about Caitlin Clark and the $5 million offer from Ice Cube to join the BIG3, his professional basketball league, the BIG3, before heading over to the WNBA. And he's also, I think it's in the show notes for the show, is that he's attacking WNBA player Lexie Brown, mainly because she's a black woman. And no black person is allowed to speak on anything except for Jason Whitlock. There was nothing wrong with what Lexie Brown said. I didn't even make it to the 15-minute mark of the podcast because I'm like, this is some trash. And on top of that, it is hypocritical in a number of ways. And I'm going to get into that. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. But I'm with Stephen A. Smith, man. This brother somebody has to, and maybe to his contributors, former ESPN boxing guy Steve Kim and TJ Moe that come on the show, I'm sure that they said some things to oppose him and point out the simple truths here. And talk common sense and get away from the buffoonery. The intentional buffoonery. Now, let's go back last week. This is how familiar I am with the Fearless podcast. Just last week, Caitlin Clark drew the ire of Jason Whitlock, a season-long sycophant. Somebody who talks about don't bring race and insert race into sports, but who has dubbed Caitlin Clark, first bit of hypocrisy, he's dubbed Caitlin Clark show white. Why make any reference to her skin color just because she happens to be this white girl that is balling? But you don't want nobody else to bring, especially black people, black athletes, you don't want them to say anything. No references to skin color, ethnicity, nothing. But you come right out, she's show white. First bit of hypocrisy. But he's on his show. He dedicates an episode last week to saying maybe I no longer, maybe my fandom for my raging fandom for Caitlin Clark, maybe I need to dial that back a little bit because she was yelling at referees, and I don't like that. I don't really like that. I don't respect that and appreciate that. And that's not a good look for how I want Christian athletes and Christians and people of faith to act. And she's a heterosexual and everything, and she's white. She's show white. I don't want her talking back to referees and making and disappointing me and making sullying her image or tarnishing her image girl next door image in any kind of way. I don't remember if it was the Holy Cross game or West Virginia, or maybe it was a game. Maybe it was the game against Nebraska. In the BIG3 championship. And the camera panned over to her father, and he got up. I think he'd seen enough of Caitlin speaking to the referees, and he was like, hey, cut that shit out. Cut it the F out. Get off of it. Knock that off. So TJ Moe and Whitlock spend over an hour complaining that this young woman needs to act better. They need to act accordingly to his standards. What are you talking about, bruh? I wasn't a fan of it. But it's the Big Ten Conference Championship game. And it's a lot of pressure that's mounting on the young woman because of this. Second bit of hypocrisy was he's been a stan for Caitlin Clark all year, but tells everybody else, you can't, our biggest problem is the idolatry of these athletes. Which one is it, bruh? Don't like them, hate them, ignore them, boycott them, fan them, stand them, ignore. What is it? It's all, okay, so second bit of hypocrisy. I'm going to lose count here in a minute because there's so much of it. But that's what these two grown-ass men sit here complaining about a girl in a championship, a young woman in a championship game who was struggling a little bit. I think she only had 4 points in the first half. Was that the same game? And we're getting into March Madness, and there's a lot of pressure on her to deliver. She's already walking around, and I'm not, hey, that's her stage. These in the women's bracket, the games are at the highest seeded teams court, and these tournament games have been in Iowa's arena. She can walk around that arena and do whatever she wants to do, in my opinion. I may not like some of it, but that's the house that she's built. They got the stamp out there, what is it, 22 by the logo, where she broke the scoring record or whatever it was. She can raise her arms and incite the crowd. That's her stage. I just saw Claressa Shields, the boxer, put something on her page because everything these athletes do is not the end of the world for me. But I just saw Claressa Shields 2 weeks ago. She put a post on her Instagram page of her with some pasties over her nipples, her breasts, pasties over the nipples, a la Lil' Kim, a leather jacket on with no shirt underneath it, no blouse, no top underneath it, fully unzipped, unbuttoned, and she has her shades on, her hair is all done up. She got some fishnet stuff on, and some kind of stripper outfit, basically. And I was like, you know what? This ain't for me. I don't have to like it. I don't have to comment and say nothing to the quote. This ain't it. This what? Hey, that's some shit she doing. Trying to attract some attention to herself the best way that she knows how. It ain't for me. Keep it moving. I didn't say a word. Today she was boasting about paying off her home. I said, congratulations, champ. That's something that I connect with. But I'm not gonna sit here for an hour crying about what this woman did, what some 22-year-old girl during a basketball game. She was calling for fouls. Okay. So she just did that last week. And now I need to tone it down a bit. I need to move on. I'm a fan of women's basketball. Women's basketball is so much better than the men's game, and she's better than the NBA and the WNBA. She's everything. I'll get back to the other names that he mentions in just a second. But now, Cube makes this $5 million offer to her for 10 games to be in his BIG3 league. And unquestionably, he's a fan of it. No consideration, no critical thinking, no mulling it over, no nothing. Make it happen. Any other time, I guess hypocrisy 3, any other time, women on his show, on his Fearless podcast, at no time are women supposed to be doing anything with men sports related. You can't be in the studio with men. You don't need to be on the podcast with men. You don't need to be nothing, this and that and the third, nothing. But now go over here and play against former NBA players in the BIG3 and compete against men. I'm honestly not so sure, even if the money is guaranteed, she signs on the line and gets the $5 million. What does it do to her brand when the optics aren't good? You mean to tell me that 6 foot tall, 5'10", 5'11", Caitlin Clark, she's gonna ball out? She's gonna knock down 3 4-pointers in a row against Joe Johnson? 6'5", 6'6" Joe Johnson? What was the brother I saw? Wasn't Ricky Jackson from the Cleveland? Wasn't he in there one who's 6'4", decent leaper? I mean, are these brothers' knees that bad in a 3-on-3 game? These 6'2" to 6'7", 6'10", 6'8" guys, their knees are that shot, and that the reach advantage that they have, the athletic level or disparity, they're not going to be able to defend her. On a quick side note, I happen to think, I'm questioning, just thinking it over sports-wise, I'm like, maybe 5-on-5 would be a little better because you could have 2 non-scorer guys on the court that she could be taught how to move more without the ball, and she could use those people to run defenders around to get open and catch and shoot and get better looks, get wide open shots. Maybe it's more bodies on the court to hide behind. With it just being 3-on-3 and for the men that's guarding her, it's a target on my back, and I'm going to sit here and let you cook me? Keep in mind, she'll be shooting with the men's ball, too. But all of these guys are that trash now that they can't guard her and won't work extra hard to make sure that she... Now, and then another thing, all he does is complain about the rule, hypocrisy number 4. All he does is complain about the rule changes in the NFL and how they're ruining the sport. Is Cube supposed to change the sport? Is he supposed to change the rules so it's harder, to make it easier for her to score? You got to be in a 5-step defense while you're on her. You got to be 3 steps off of her at all. What is he going to do to ensure that she can put up 20 points, 18 points? Another quick side note on whether we don't even know if she translates to the WNBA. As big a fan as Jason Whitlock is, as much as I've enjoyed some of her games this year, and I have tuned into a few and will be tuning into tomorrow's day full of women's games on ESPN, I believe. We don't even know if this scoring translates to the WNBA. I just watched game 4, the elimination game of the WNBA finals last year, and two of the names that I'm familiar with from college basketball in the last 5 to 7 years was Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, and even Kelsey Plum. I believe Kelsey Plum, who wasn't she the leader in the scoring leader before Caitlin Clark surpassed her? I want to say in that elimination game, in that finals game, Kelsey Plum had 7 points or 10 points. 7, 10? The previous all-time leading scorer or whatever. And Stewart and Ionescu, they both had about 13 points each. One of them had a few more points than the other, but they had terrible shooting performances in an elimination game. And as I was watching the game, the Liberty couldn't throw it in the ocean for much of the game. The only one who delivered was Asia. Is it Wilson? Asia Wilson. But Stewart and Ionescu, Mrs. Mamba mentality, they didn't jump off the screen and light the WNBA competition up. They didn't extend the series. We don't even know if Caitlin Clark will be standout as a WNBA player. So speaking of the WNBA, so then Jason, just in shortly into his episode, he goes in on Lexie Brown, who spoke up on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. I'm not even going to take the time to play none of this audio. Take my word for it. Dude is just all over the place with his bullshit. Lexie Brown spoke facts. She talked business. It wasn't the black girl hating on the up and coming white girl, the upstart white girl who could take over her sport, or the black girl's game and the Cheryl Swoops thing. And it was none of that. But of course, nobody black is allowed to share any opinions, especially a black woman. What the fuck is Lexie Brown thinking? All Lexie said was, apparently part of the statement that was made with the offer was, maybe it was from Q, maybe it was from the Big Three, but there was something where they said that these other nations, these European countries where women have typically gone to supplement their income and play overseas and during the off season of the WNBA, they've been great partners to these players for well over a decade and a half, and are integral part in them earning the living that they aspired to make. So there's no need to attack them and fire any shots at them while you're extending an offer to Caitlin Clark, who has nothing to do with the WNBA at this point in time, while she's still in the women's final run to the road to the Final Four. There was no need to bash any of these host countries. And Lexie Brown is just like, some of these places are great to play. They've been gracious hosts to many of us. That's business. There's no need to tear down these countries who've been paying them decent money for over 12 years and serving a vital role in them having professional careers as professional athletes. All you had to do was make your offer to, you could say as a benefit. You don't have, it could be somewhat of a perk that you don't have to spend time out of your year living abroad. It's an opportunity for you to play right here in the States and stay in front of your American fans. You had to say nothing about them dismal countries and dubious countries, probably speaking a reference to Russia, most likely. The other thing that, the other point, how could this not be an important point? The other thing that Lexie Brown pointed out on Gilbert Arenas' podcast was, you want her to participate in the Big Three. The Big Three season is not during the off season of the WNBA. I mean, if that's the case, that's an an obvious discrepancy on how do they get this worked out. Obvious. So where is Lexie Brown out of pocket, DEI issue gone wrong, DEI hire gone? What is she's speaking business, asking the right questions. And she says something like, we're waiting with open arms to embrace her in the WNBA, and whatever boost that she can add to what we have going on, we prefer to be her first priority. Not something out here that can go wrong and somehow tarnish your value. You go over here and get checked and shut down totally, and then they got to make up some excuse the last 4 or 5 games of the season. Well, she's injured and she wants to go get ready for the combine, or she needs to focus, valid questions. Another big point, while Jason Whitlock is all head over heels and over the moon in following the women's game, we don't even know if Caitlin Clark makes it to this year's Final Four. We don't even know that. They play Colorado tomorrow, I believe is a number 5 seed. It's possible that they get past Colorado. And then guess what? I think that'll be the Elite 8. They would meet up with the winner of is LSU playing UCLA? But it's the winner whoever LSU needs to win. And if they win, then it'll be a rematch of the last year's championship game between Jason Whitlock's second favorite women's player and Angel Reese and his idol, Caitlin Clark. None of these teams besides South Carolina, LSU hasn't looked great in the tournament, and neither has the Hawkeyes. And on that same show the same episode of Fearless that I was talking about, he was all in his feelings that the committee put together a bracket that made it the most difficult for Iowa to get to the Final Four. He was on there crying. The other thing that I did, another quick aside, have you heard this socialism bullshit solutions? These socialist bullshit solutions that Whitlock suggests on how to fix professional sports, and everybody needs to get paid the same. Everybody's salary everybody needs to get some $200,000, and then leading scorer gets a bonus, rebounder gets some bonus, most assists gets some bonus, and all that. Did you hear this socialist bullshit? This is why Steve Kim and sometimes TJ Moe, because TJ Moe get on some socialist shit too. To be major conservatives and far blue-blooded, whatever, far right dudes, they say some socialist shit when it comes to fixing professional sports. Everybody should make the same amount of money. In what universe? In what world does Rui Hachimura make the same thing as LeBron James? Or even Reeves or D. Russell? How does that work? Because they need to be more. This man never says nothing about $25 craft beers, $20 nachos, and the ticket prices and $10,000 courtside. He never say nothing about the supply side of it. And never attack the owner sides of it. It's always those brown and black players need to be put in check. I didn't even make it 15 minutes into this silly ass, goofy ass show with this dude sitting up here talking about Lexie Brown, how she needs to shut up, and then I'll go into that and I'll get on off here. Go watch my movie. What kind of adult, what kind of Christian man, Christian worldview What kind of man sits here and here's a woman talking about her workplace, her place of business, changes in her to her employer. And you counter with a woman is never satisfied if a man goes an hour or 2 hours in bed. A woman is never, all men can deal with this. All men have experienced this. A woman is never pleased because she gonna complain if a man goes an hour or even goes 2 hours. She still ain't satisfied. Bruh, I've been married 20 years. My wife is like, get this shit over with so we can watch the news or Saturday Night Live or we can go to sleep. What you trying to do? I ain't gonna say it's 5 minutes, 7 minutes, but an hour, bruh? What kind of low level, low hanging fruit, low vibrational, silly ass, immature jock, locker room bullshit are you on to say some silly ass shit like that? You upstanding Christian? Who goes to sex? We trying to have a serious conversation about a $5 million offer to go play in the WNBA. I mean, to go play in the BIG3. Where do you do any kind of analysis on how she measures up against the men of that league? Where's the sensible talk, the mature talk? While you say some shock value bullshit, and nobody points out this silliness, this low level sports talk shit. Every man's experienced it. Then he got to get into his corny ass imitations and impersonations of women and other black people. His 20 black characters of low character and broken English and all that type of shit. Lexie Brown raised valid points. Lexie Brown was speaking about business. And then to just sit here and say, without any kind of research or any kind of nothing, any looking into it whatsoever, that this is a great deal, this is a great thing to do and I want to see it, some kind of spectacle shit. But to say that the WNBA, they've never done nothing, they don't have nothing. Why? I just read an article earlier. I just saw the headlines. I didn't really get into the article just yet, but there was just something that the WNBA might be pulling away from or trying to split from the NBA as best it can or in some kind of way so that it can bid its games out to more partners, because maybe if they have more partners or broadcasters bidding for rights to the WNBA games with someone incoming like Caitlin Clark and her brand, maybe if they can go out to other broadcasters and take some bids and some offers and whatnot, they can get a better TV deal situation versus being tied to only who the NBA is affiliated with. Like, talk about the real business, bruh. Instead of some man trying to please some woman for 2 hours. Like every average man out here is Mr. Marcus. Or Richard Mann or some shit. Mr. Christian. Who goes to a sexual analogy first? That's what I'm gonna lead with in my Christian worldview sports talk. Dude is a joke, man. I ain't even making 15 minutes into this bullshit. Here you are souring on the woman, Caitlin Clark. Here it is. We don't even know if she gonna get to the Final Four. Elite Eight. Do any better. Got their doors blown off last year by LSU, by the way. just got mad and infuriated by the young woman because she, hold on. I know what I got to point out as I close. How do you sit here and get mad at, how do you sit here? This is the audio that I considered bringing on to here. He goes on this rant for a couple of minutes talking about unquestionably, indisputably, Caitlin Clark is X times better and bigger and more popular. She's the biggest figure in all of sports, bigger than Patrick Mahomes. What's Patty got? 3 Super Bowl titles now? 3-time Super Bowl winner. She bigger than LeBron. 4 times finals winner. 10 or 11 trips to the finals. Single-handedly carried the Eastern Conference for at least 7 to 8 years when there was nobody over in the Eastern Conference. During the height of Golden State, their dynasty. LeBron was the East year after year doing his thing, but she's bigger than him. Hasn't even won a national championship at the level that she's playing at right now. She's bigger than LeBron. She's way bigger than Tiger Woods. 17? Is it 17 or 18 majors? Carried golf year after year after year after year after year. Caitlin Clark been around for the last 18 months. Get 2 seasons, however you want to chop it up. 18 majors, 17 majors, whatever he's stuck at. It may never move in front of Jack Nicklaus. How is she bigger and more impactful than her? How you gonna be a prisoner of the moment like this, bruh? These bum-ass sports takes you got. She's bigger than Serena. Retired Serena. Serena with 33 Grand Slams? 18, 20-year career? Year after year after year after year in the finals, going through quarterfinals, semis, finals, year after year after year, playing in the Olympic gold medalists or whatever Serena did. How is she bigger than Serena? And she don't have no W's. She don't have a national championship. How, Whitlock? Because you say so? She bigger than Ohtani. This man gets $700 million, $750 million contract. How is she bigger than these people? Because he talking about ESPN or something is getting ready to put out a magazine for her. And you couldn't do that with any other athlete. I beg to differ, man. And hopefully Steve Kim, like I said, Steve Kim usually pushes back on all of this silly shit. She's bigger than Ohtani, who just signed the biggest deal in sports. $70 million a year? For someone getting ready to go play in the WNBA. I know she had 60,000 people in the football field or whatever, in the middle of the football field, and we've tuned in and checked some games, but we don't even know how that relationship changes once the name on the front of that jersey is one of the WNBA and all of its progressive reputation and everything that hangs over the WNBA with its political leanings, and then the tie-in with the LGBTQ community and all of that. We don't even know how that relationship goes on. The love affair with the in the flyover states and Caitlin Clark once she's at that level. And if she's not hitting 6 threes a game and shooting from the logo and dominating, which we have no idea if that's going to carry over. Yeah, people go and do things, commemorative things. You take advantage of a hot moment. Yes, it's been a great story. Yes, the deep shooting, the step backs, Yes, all of that's been great, but damn, you let this shit, you idolize her? You full on become a sycophant, bruh? Cause it's show white dominating the black girls at their own sport. When there's tons of white girls doing big things in college basketball. I mean, it just is. But not to Jason Whitlock accordingly. Never bring up Becker's, Brink. Didn't have much to say about the biracial. I think she's by Audi Crooks. Come on, fam. Bigger than Mahomes? Man, the Fearless podcast got a wild ass sports scene, bruh. The headlines over there are much different from everywhere else. Hey, my name is Wood. I got to get up out of here, man. You don't have to be great to start, but you had to start to be great. Somebody had to cook that man. That ain't even my lane. I'm not no cloud chaser. I don't even give a damn about this YouTube shit or nothing. But man, 12, 13 minutes into a podcast and you full of hypocrisy like that, you wilding out here like that. Come on, man.